To go over to or facilitate this session for you guys. I was more excited to be able to do this on the front end before the scholars came back, but I think one of the benefits of doing it now actually is I'm really going to try to pull in a lot of the experiences that we went through this week, trying to go through how we push and utilizing the information we got through email, and hopefully, again, what we experienced this week will help push our thinking, help push our practice, so we're just able to hit next week even stronger than we did this week in terms of making sure that we are, for the sake of just getting through instructional content, sweating the small stuff with our scholars, and making sure that we have as many scholars on board pushing towards 100%. So what I want to do to start off with is I want to have everybody just think about the pre-reading that Jesse sent out for all of you, and I want you to take 2 minutes to fill out the do now. Bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so Linda, can you read the first one for us?
This is the one I don't have. According to Doug Lavall, who teach like a champion, the key to sweating the details is preparation.
It's preparation, everybody. It is preparation. Can I get Paris? Can you use the second bullet and fill in the blank?
And with all due respect, the author argues that behavior management generates thinking responses and habits generate non-thinking responses.
Very good.
What's the second part there?
Non-thinking?
Yes,
And Eddie, can you read the third bullet and fill in the blank?
Sure. Behavior you ignore is behavior you accept. Something like that. Allow.
What's the word I heard over here? Permit. Behavior you ignore is behavior you permit. You get points for the
That means you internalize.
Yeah, I got it.
Alright, so basically
I
what
permitted it in my
we
brain.
just wanted to go ahead and just start the foundation of just keeping our thinking around how we manage student behaviors on the same page. We want to make sure that we kick off 2014 by understanding the significance and importance of preparation, but also thinking about the idea of making sure that our preparation drives students towards not wasting a lot of time on the things that, again, we don't require them to spend a lot of exhaustive thinking on, for the sake of making sure that like the key habits that are going to get us to the academic goals we want to achieve just are ingrained in their everyday doings. Shifting into our aims for today, the first half of the session, it's really going to be driving towards pushing our mindsets. The first half, we really want to make sure that we're on the same page thinking about what it is we're trying to do when we come to work every day. Felicia Davis, can you read the 3 aims for us, please?
Embrace the mindset that studying small stuff is what prevents 90% of major misbehavior. Author?
Yes, please.
Embrace the mindset that we should be training scholars around key expectations because they should be automatic behaviors. And embrace the mindset that we should be checking hands, eyes, and voices every second.
So, in the first excerpt we read from Doug Lamont, Subject Champions, the question that I want us to quickly turn and talk with our neighbor and really flesh out is, what is Doug Lamont's argument in the section that we read of Teach Like a Champion? Take 30 seconds to just be able to, like in one sentence, answer that question with your neighbor. Go. identified a mistake. So if you're a note taker person, for this question, this would have been the second box. We're going to come back up to the first box to the next slide. So just want to point out so I don't throw you off. Thank you, Lauren, for helping me catch this. No, but can I hear from Adriana, what did you and your partner talk about?
We talked about how preparation was really there and that like you're basically training them. So if you really focus on those small things, that like their idea of misbehaving is like an untucked shirt. It won't be like this huge, that's what it said, right? Okay, I'm like that.
No, keep going.
Yeah, like really pinpoint these small behaviors that like eventually like they like won't even get to like their misbehavior being this like huge thing. Now you know
No, you're pulling out the key things that we want you to pull out. Yes.
Okay.
We want to make sure that in our preparation we're thinking specifically about like what exactly, behaviorally speaking, do we want to see from students. So through the way we set up our preparation, the students are able to engage in that consistently and through predictability. But there's two pieces I kind of want to pull out in addition to this. One person want to try to add to it, see if they can add the two pieces that I'm looking for.
We definitely talked about that. And also something that Maya brought up was like how you present yourself really, really matters. Like if you're sweating all the small stuff in your appearance, then people are going to see you as somebody who they can respect and somebody who does that.
Yep, and then Tanya.
I think also I read something about like creating the illusion that like you see everything, right? So the students walk in and they know that you're gonna just see it and that it's a big deal. So they try to, like you're trying to train the kids to make everything a big deal so that it translates in their academics, like from tucking shirts to socks to now like giving details in text, like everything matters, and you're creating that space of like setting them up for success because they know that you're looking at everything and everything matters, like counts.
Yep, so in order to really set that space up, is we want to make sure that we have, first thing, really, really strong systems in place inside of the classroom. When we have solid systems inside of the classroom, it's a lot easier for the teacher and for the student to align on the same wavelength around. I'm going to be able to catch whether or not we're meeting this, the expectations we want to hit at the level we want to hit it at. So we have systems, but the second thing that has to be absolutely important in order to like perpetuate this idea of predictability is it needs to be sequential. The way in which we do things, how we operate systematically, we need to be able to have it in a space where it happens in the same order and the same fashion. If we have a space where things are systematic and sequential, we can create a space that's facilitated in a calm manner, like what Tommy was trying to go out for us. Thinking about, so now we're going to the next one. So thinking about, like Doug Law set that up for us. Then we ask you to read an excerpt and with all due respect. The first question I want to think about, Noah, is what is Morris trying to persuade us to think?
And with all due respect,
Yes.
that if you create habits, then you take away the choice that the students have. They don't think of it as like, should I follow this direction or should I not? It just becomes something they do automatically.
Absolutely. Yep. And then, so Leonard, or no, not Leonard, Lauren, Frank, help me out with the second question. How is training different from behavior management?
Isn't that,
I was just saying, isn't it in the notes that we took at the top or maybe there?
Yeah, like explicitly articulated, because that's going to be really important for us to dig in deeper with later on.
So I think it's about building habits, right? So when we're training, we're building habits. So kids are doing things without thinking because that's normal for them to do things in a certain way. And in management, it's more about helping kids to make the right decisions in the moment. But which we want them to do in some sense, right? Like you don't want it to be like all or nothing. But on like the little things, like the things that we do every day, we don't want kids to be thinking about like, how am I going to unpack today, and like coming up with a novel, like a new way of doing it. Because that's a waste of time.
Yep.
And so we want to train them to do the things that are not rigorous in the same way to save time and
So when we think about like, visually speaking, when we think of training, thinking of like we're just doing drills. Very like concise, what to do statements. We're doing, child executes immediately. Training is thinking about when we do it that way, the student gets more at bats, which then sets up more success. Whereas like when we think about behavior management, if you think about our behavior management system, we're a school that has a system where there are some responses to things that need to be corrected, but there are also some responses to things that are done well, some positive responses, that when you weigh out both of those comparatively, it allows an individual to think and process how to behave. So when we think about how those two are different, Jordan, what are the respective purposes of those two things?
I mean, I had a little confused face because I was trying to follow what you were saying.
Okay.
So, can you just?
So one approach is a training method, another approach is behavior management method.
I get the training method. Can you explain the behavior management method?
Okay, yeah. So or can somebody explain that for me? Maybe use different language than what I just used. Okay.
Well, as far as behavior management, I feel like that's more, you're going to do it so often that it might happen consistently, but you'll be trying to maintain that behavior or modify it every time it happens. So for instance, it happened to me the other day. I just kept reminding the students to put their hands back in the halls rather than if it was, I guess, 100% training, they'll just keep their hands in the halls versus me constantly reminding them.
So the goal is that they're trained so we don't have to do the behavior management?
Correct. There's a rationalizing element when we use behavior management to get students to follow our directions. And we don't want to use that approach every single time.
Okay.
So when we think about behavior management, when you do something good, you're going to get, say, a Starbucks.
Okay.
So understanding the differences between training and behavior management, what would be some times in which we use training, and when would be a time in which we would use like more of a behavior management approach? Maggie?
Well, I think like the goal is that you train them first and then you maintain the training with behavior management. So like if they're doing what you train them to do, you're managing them by rewarding them, and if they're not, you're managing them by consequencing them. Like, that's how I think of it.
Doesn't he also say that you shouldn't be giving kids a chance like to make a choice? Because I know like when I first started teaching, it was big like so we've trained them to already make the right choice. So I think it's related in both, like training comes first, and then they're ready for management. You're reinforcing, and also I like what Lauren said, like you're training for routine procedures that really don't require thinking. They should never need thinking. Whereas there are points in the day where they are going to need to think about, like, this is a new situation. How do I handle it? And that's where the management is. So I think it's both like a first and a next, and then also like different amounts of thinking that you need them to be doing at that time.
So when we think of, beautifully said, thank you, Judy. So when we think about it through that context, Marguerite, can you help us out with the last question? Does Morris' recommendation really turn our scholars into robots?
Well, I think he's not talking about like critical thinking or academics or like themselves as citizens. He's just talking about like routines, procedures, like a classroom that functions, like listening to new information, like getting your pencil, like open your book, like do it. Like, so I think it's about the little things. The argument is like it's about the little things that they don't really need a lot of agency about, where like the argument to me is like it frees up time for them to have a lot of choice and be able to engage in like a lot of different subject areas where they do have voice and do have choice.
Yep.
But it's not about like, it's just like what's an efficient system to get things done with a lot of bodies in a room.
Yep.
So, you know what I mean?
So I think you just set us up, because what I want to do right now is, I think when we think about how we're going to approach almost this idea of like a reset to make sure we lock in these key habits that we want students to have so we can really start pushing rigor, is I really want us all to be able to re-zone in on how we deliver our pitch, on how we're establishing the culture that we have at our school. Marguerite did a very good job just delivering her pitch, her understanding on like, when we think about what we're trying to do for our kids, we're not trying to create robots, just be very specific on what those key habits are. Take 20 seconds with the person sitting next to you. Given this question, I'd love for you to just go ahead and practice. Like, what is your pitch when people question this idea of like, are we training our students here at Apollo to be robots? Given what you know, deliver your pitch to your partner. Is there any clarifying questions before we go into that? Go. So Benicia, I'd like to hear your pitch. Nothing to love.
Well, I was just saying that like when I first started working here, like I struggled with, the whole idea
Do we have one person? Marguerite.
We were talking about how it's just about setting boundaries and safety. It's not about controlling like every aspect of every day and habituating every thought. And like today I walked into Vanderbilt and I was in the middle of a turn and talk, and like the habit is like turning, talking, listening, not talking too loud, but the kids were involved in like a 8-minute like discussion. They're choosing the topic, like they're talking. So it's like you're setting boundaries on certain things for safety reasons, and so everyone learns, but you're not controlling exactly what they're thinking and saying and taking away everything from them, you know? So it facilitated the learning.
That's very severe. And I think what's key is that there's a thin line between making the robot based on the way you communicate the instructions. So if you don't couple that instruction with some type of care like we discussed or some type of compassionate understanding, yeah, we are working towards making robots because that's the intent, for them to listen and constrain their thoughts, but not making them feel like they're doing the routine, but it's actually not really happening because it's so, I feel good doing it. I don't feel like I'm being pressed.
Yep, they can share those thoughts. I think like if we continue to like really engage, like work with our students, and really maximize our parent communication, like be prepared to really like own like your pitch and own your response, because as a school, like when I look around the room, we all fundamentally believe in this. But reality is we want to transfer our community here into our outer community so we have a stronger force, really pushing how we're trying to teach and develop our kids. So the big ideas, the big takeaways. Louise, can you read the big takeaways?
We must learn small stuff obsessively in order to preserve learning time and prevent major misbehavior. We know that a huge amount of style behavior is habit rather than intentional decision making. Our job is to create productive habits for scholars, scientists, and scholars to do it exactly right every time.
All right, and just kind of like going down and processing. We read in the article, two sides of our brains. We know we have a processing side, and we know we have a quick-witted, stealthy side. What I want to do now is I want to transition us into a little bit of practice. Like what, so now that we've kind of renormed our mindset, how are we going to shape our mindset into transferring into the practice that we actually execute on inside of the classroom? So basically our goal, when we say like we want to really sweat the small stuff and push 100%, inside the classroom, we're really going to be utilizing this word stealth at a greater level. Could somebody define that word for me, please? Stealth. Chris?
Something happening without your awareness of that set event happening.
Yep, pretty much it's like increasing like the wickedness. It's like that teacher, that person who's in the classroom, and the kids believe that that teacher has eyes all over their head. In order to increase our stealth, we're going to be trying to specifically push two key taxonomy approaches. We're going to be focusing on utilizing effectively our use of BC looking and scanning. And then we're really going to be trying to be pushing our use of nonverbal cues to push behaviors that we want to see in the classroom. Can somebody remind me the three specific behaviors we're pushing this week and next week? Hands, eyes, and voice. What are they again, everybody?
Hands, eyes, voice.
So what we're going to do is we're going to watch a video. What we're going to be watching a video is the teacher's not one of the teachers at our school, but it's an awesome video clip of a teacher who is at one of the North Star schools in New Jersey. And we're going to watch a clip where there's a teacher who's effectively utilizing these two taxonomy strategies to push their instruction. I want you, as you're watching the video, to think about these three questions. So take notes or make mental notes as you're watching, because you can do a turn and talk and just process it out with the person sitting next to you. Do we need somebody to read the question? Jabari, you read?
Someone read this. So here you read as you. What did you learn about behavior? Gabby? And then as a reader, I get to infer that he was feeling sick go on because I'm putting myself in that situation. And I also like the suspense at the end. Read yours, Destiny.
Take about 30 seconds just to turn this off and answer a few questions. So Cameron, how often is the teacher scanning throughout the lesson?
Sorry, say that again.
How often did you see this teacher, Ms. Henderson, scanning throughout the lesson?
Pretty often. She did about 4 times, 5 times.
4 times, 5 times? Anybody have a different number? Jesse?
She was scanning, well, if someone was speaking, she was looking at the rest of the class instead. So she was scanning the entire time.
Amelia, last one.
I discussed in my group that I didn't think she was scanning enough, and I think if we put the video, we would most likely see that not every student had their eyeball on the speaker, because she wasn't looking at every student every second. I don't think it's an every 10-second thing, I think it's an every second thing.
Can you talk to me a little bit why you think it's an every second thing?
Because in 10 seconds, I mean, a kid could miss a key point. It only takes 10 seconds for me to say, like, comes with this area, for another kid to say that. And Lauren added on, you said it on the board.
I feel like, honestly, like when I see teachers do this well in observation, it's not an every 10 seconds thing. It's like, unless I am actively reading a line from a book out loud to children, or like writing something on the board that I need to see what I'm doing, unless like one of those things where I'm actively needing to use my eyes to accomplish something, I should be methodically scanning the entire time. Like it actually just never should stop. And so I think like it's not, I think it's less about scanning every 10 seconds as it is, I actually never stop scanning. Was what I shared.
Yep. What do you think this teacher was doing to try to achieve that? What do you think this teacher was doing to try to achieve that?
She was using more or less silent signals. It was this, it was body language. So, and she did this.
To push a little bit on Amelia's thought, I'm glad you guys just named that, because it should be like a consistent, constant thing. You should be scanning constantly. When I was watching, I watched it a few times, and like I was really drawing attention to the constant movement that this teacher was doing. And I would, if I were sitting with this teacher, I would ask her, like, where do you think your strongest vantage point is in your classroom? Were you having a hard time finding your strong vantage point in that classroom and really push? Like, where do you think you need to be in order to successfully try to hit your scanning effectively every second of your lesson? Does that make sense?
Wait, we don't like that she was moving around so much?
I don't think it's a like or not like, but I had a question as I was watching that movie, the clip.
with regard to what you're just saying, we were discussing that it was a little, not disrespectful, but like if a scholar is talking to you and you're busy walking around going like this, if you take your vantage point, like you just said, you're standing in that corner, you see, your eyes are on me, you're scanning the room, but you still can focus on me now, and you're not walking around, you still can go like that, you still can go like that. But you're in one spot and it's a little less distracting to the person who's speaking if you stay in that one spot, I think, maybe.
Last one, or, yes, last one.
I'll just give one.
Cool, can you help us out with the second question though?
What nonverbals did this teacher use?
So specifically, like what were they? Like, let's actually go to the third one. Like specifically, like what were they? What was the difference between what the teacher was doing non-verbally and what the teacher was doing verbally?
My smart partner Liz said that the academics were verbal and the behavior corrections were all nonverbal.
Like, what are our thoughts and reactions about that though? Like, we just saw a classroom where we saw a teacher, not everything was perfect, but we saw a teacher working really hard, really trying to distinguish the difference between like pushing as much academic content as possible, but persistently pushing the behavioral expectations of our classroom. Like, what would be the impact if we all really drove with that mindset in our classroom? What would be the short-term impact? What would be the long-term impact for our scholars? Think about like just 6 seconds to process that to yourself. Anybody want to share a reaction? Leonard?
I think scanning and being seen and looking is like the foundation for sweating small stuff. Because if you don't see it, you can't sweat it. So if you start there and you start to look and you start to scan, then I think it will, like you said, like pushes us closer towards sweating all of the small stuff throughout the building.
Anybody want to add on? Great thought. Thank you. Jordan?
So like, I was just thinking about like short term, how much more time I could spend on like talking about actual academics. I think about now in my classroom, I spend so much time like I'm still talking about these vertical hands and wasting so many words talking about vertical hands and tracking, and how many more words I could be spending talking about actual academic content. And then the long-term impact of that is obviously that the kids are learning more and they're growing.
I also think that if you spend a lot of time doing that, you can try a lot of different things because it's not a huge like week-long lesson where you have to teach them how to move a certain way because it's just a habit for them to do. So you can try out a lot of fun different things in your class.
Sure.
I also think it goes back to the perception that kids have from you that like your expectations are always going to be high. Like he's always expecting this from me, so I know that every time I come in, oh, Miss K is always going to be looking for these things. So over time, it's like I'm less likely to want to do it because I know that Miss K is always looking for me to do the right thing, and the minute that I don't, she's going to be on me.
So thinking about just kind of like, when we think about us pushing forward with our practice, we really want it to be super clear on defining like the criteria for success when we say we're going to effectively scan, when we say we're going to effectively use nonverbal cues. Maureen, can you break down be seen looking and scanning for us, please? So we're going to go ahead and just change the first bullet, and that should just be like every second, just consistently and constantly, just scanning the entire room.
Can I just ask a clarifying question about that? I was having a conversation about this earlier in the context of LLI and conferring, and I wonder, like, this is an instance where they're delivering content whole group, so they can be scanning constantly. But in some cases where you're like modeling and writing, or if you're like conferring, or if you're looking at something, like I wonder if there are cases where it would be more like an every 10 seconds or another interval, because like you're not actually looking at the kids.
And I think that kind of like helps us best utilize the point that Lauren made a little bit earlier. Like, of course, like there's going to be some key moments where like our eyes need to be put on something for the sake of keeping the lesson moving and understanding like that, of course our eyes would be off, but really gauging that like, are we as efficient with the use of our time when we're doing those things? So did you want to add anything?
No, I was just gonna say, I think also like even like during, where Olivia and Felicia, who I tell almost every week, even when you're conferring, you need to be looking up and scanning the whole time. You've heard that from me like so many times because it's like, there's a way in which I think you can still preserve respect. Like I think Kate does it really nicely. So like she'll like stand next to someone and like put her hand on them and like still be scanning and monitoring and like even though or like repeating what they said. So you're still giving children the like respect so that they know that you're listening and giving them your attention, but also it's allowing you to like still monitor and manage the rest of the class.
Eric, can you help us out with the nonverbal cues?
Nonverbal cues to redirect instruction and student responses. Implemented for minor misbehavior before it becomes big misbehavior. Aligned with common vision documented, followed by nonverbal affirmation, neutral face. Delivered while squared up.
So these are a lot of the key elements that coaches are going to be trying to give feedback on when we go into your classroom next week. But we're also going to be pushing you all to like really internalize these key elements because we want you to do some self-reflection on the consistency of you hitting as many of these elements as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a practice. We're going to break up into our groups. If you turn to the next page, there is a script on the very top. Before we go into practice, I'm just going to give you a little bit of time to kind of like go through the script. The purpose of our practice, just bring your eyes back on me real quick, just so I can like explain how to do the practice. The purpose of this practice is I'm trying to visualize, like this is a part of the lesson where we're thinking about an engaging INM or like a guided practice where there's a consistent exchange between the teacher and the students. So when you like study through the script, you're going to be seeing a script that just has a lot of CFUs in it, where again, you're getting a lot of that exchange from the teachers and the students. That's a key point that we've just seen throughout the entire school, where it's hard to maintain student compliance of those minor behaviors. So I just put a script in there for you that you're going to internalize that I'm going to want everybody just to practice together. When we go into practice, we're just going to break up into our grade team groups. There's some folks who are on a grade team-ish that I attached to a group. Just take like a quick 2 seconds to see if you're a grade team, if your name is up top. Let's put it up. Jabari has agreed to add 4th grade to his group. And I'm happy to take Cameron, Kyle, and Mary since Jesse is not here. The way we're going to do our practice, this is going to be a 2-part practice, but I'm going to keep the 2-part practice active when you're just going to be in your room one lump chunk at a time. Basically, our goal is we want everybody to circle through one round of practice. And when you practice, you're just going to be utilizing the first key element that we talked about, scanning and BC looking. You're going to be practicing for about approximately 1 minute of scanning, BC looking with all of your students compliant, but you're going to have somebody giving you feedback on the key elements underneath that specific strategy. The goal is this should take us 15, no more than 20 minutes to achieve that. The second practice is, after everybody's gone one time, we're going to go a second time, and we're going to have rooted in student misbehavior. So you're going to utilize the scanning BC looking, but with those rooted misbehaviors, we're going to want to see you execute on an effective nonverbal to keep the flow of the lesson that you're engaging your students in. Any questions about the practice that we're about to do? Before we move, just go ahead and take a minute to just internalize the script that I gave you that you'll be using. You'll notice that just for the sake of practice, it's nothing super complicated. questions about what group you're in for practice? Any questions about what room you're about to go to for practice?
Where are we?
Kyle, Cameron, Mary, we're gonna go to Harvard.
Okay.
Any questions about part 1 or part 2 of the practice? Let's have everybody back inside the room at 3:50. Let's go. Oh, yes.
We're in Penn State right now, right?
Yeah, well, I can't get my knees up.
And Marguerite. Everybody else does it. I said all except for the
Yeah. I understand. It's the weather, when it rains like that, it's like, I got my it doesn't count. Oh, no. Yeah. It's like Advil, but I think it's wearing off.
The people leave their stuff in here, are we coming back?
Yeah, it's like a tattoo is coming back.
350 letter.
What about a tattoo?
I was in bed. No, listen, first of all, don't think because you won the whole thing.
You told me
You can
that
cash me
you
out
didn't like me.
like a sailor.
What? Don't get me involved, it's already gonna fight, already don't punch me this.
I was making a
They're punching me. I told them shut the fuck up.
You know me very well. You know me very well. First of all, I'm not.
So you let me know, you got any problems with him, you let me know, I got your back. Are you on this team? Is this
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
I go with Jabari.
Oh, Jabari's with us?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, in Vermont.
morning. There were like 3 of them. And I
They just came out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So roaches, great. There's a little girls room thing, so.
I can't stand that.
No, I
It's
would
roasting.
No, I mean, it's probably a big one of the rooms in the kitchen are kind of small.
No, actually, this is my first cup of coffee out of New York group.
Are you sure you still want to drink this coffee, considering you don't know where the eggs are located, where the boo-boo's located, you know what they do actually in there, what's on them, and get inside.
Yes, you teach children. They touch your hands.
That's
They
true.
have words.
You're immune to Ebola, you're fine. You teach
That
Ebola.
doesn't.
I'm serious, I really feel that way. Okay. So let's get serious.
Very bad.
Use your face.
Yes. No, not at all. Like I'm at lunch duty. Okay. My favorite duty. So the first one is that you'll be seeing Latino Skin. Everybody's gonna comply. You'll get feedback about the criteria that's on the opposite page. So if you want to do carpet or if you want to do the desk, what you're going to teach is really up to you. Margaret, come on.
I'm sorry.
Come join us.
I'm so hungry.
I understand.
I'm so hungry.
I'll call on people. So, okay, Kate, are we gonna be at the desk or are we gonna be at the carpet?
I didn't.
You sure?
No, I was gonna, no, sorry. Suggest, please. No, it's fine.
Let's say it.
I think it's more difficult with our kids to do it at their desk because they're not used to it. Yeah. So suggest.
Let's do desks. Go spread out.
Just sit.
We can all spread out on the desk. Kind of spread out. So,
Yeah. It's easy when you're all. What should we answer these questions with? I got you good, didn't I? I think we should. What?
Were you proud?
Yeah. It was really funny.
Did you know after the second line though?
I knew right away. Right away.
oh.
I'm sorry.
We're
talking about
office
hours. It's like dick.
Oh wait, do we have scholar? Or do you?
No.
The first round, everybody complies.
That's the point, that's the part where I have my eyes on Jamie, I'm sorry.
No problem. I understand. I think so too. It's okay.
Scholars, at Achievement First we have a mission. Who knows? Raise your hand and tell me about that mission. Marguerite. Times Marguerite. Hands are folded. We're tracking Marguerite. What's her mission, Marguerite? Who wants to help Marguerite?
Good education, every child, access to a great education, graduate college, top-notch quality college. And then to come back and be leaders, or to go to any community they choose and be a leader.
Great. And we have that mission because there's an achievement gap. There's an achievement gap. There's an achievement gap. Yes, who knows what an achievement gap is? Nicolette.
Kids from low socioeconomic backgrounds tend to perform more poorly than their higher socioeconomic counterparts with their access to college education.
Ooh, give Nicolette some shine. Look at those big scholar words she used. Am I done again? Back to start. Oh yeah.
It's supposed to be a minute, and what did you say there, everybody's laughing at?
I think it's 2 minutes.
I said, yeah, I think they definitely.
2 minutes? Is that? Okay.
That's so long.
Was that didn't go?
Sure.
It's fine.
Let's clap it up for Kate! Wake up. All right, Kate, I definitely saw you when you called on Marguerite, you were looking around, you were looking definitely. You made sure you did a lot of nonverbals with the hands, you did Liddy with the star quite a few times, Liddy.
I just can't station myself.
So it's the C.
So
So I know this isn't in here, but Nicolette, how you mentioned just in terms of they're not used to it, I think that I just want to see you walk around.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's it.
So I do it again now? I can't remember.
No feedback.
Sorry, my bad. So excited to implement your feedback, Esther.
Oh, shut up.
Can I go next? But can I
Yes.
teach something else? Can I teach about the Winter Olympics?
Sure.
Great. I can't read that script. It'll be too
I know, it's
distracting.
Yeah, that takes more.
Hands and start in 3, 2, 1. Who knows what the Winter Olympics are? Tap your head if you know what the Winter Olympics are. If you don't know, hands and start. Compliance scholars. Hands and start.
You said if they don't know.
You said if you don't know.
I'm sorry. Ms. Hernandez made a mistake. Hands back and start, everyone, even if you know what the Winter Olympics are. This year, the Winter Olympics, which are games that, skip that, go back. So this year, the Winter Olympics are in Sochi, Russia, and this is so silly, sorry.
You want to start over?
I'll just keep going. And they start February 27th. When do they start? February 7th. Sorry. They start February 7th. When do they start?
Wait, are we somebody else? Then you just come back. We're being filmed. No, we're not.
No, that was next.
And if we are, it's okay.
I'm turning.
Go ahead, turn